I would like to suggest that if you're a new jury to the afternoon, that when you make a remark, you can just introduce yourself before you speak. So with that, we'll move right into our first question. And one point of just clarification is that when we're in Pune, it became very clear that there is a large-scale transformation of the Mulamutha already ongoing, which is the concrete channelization of the river's banks. So many of the projects that you'll see today are essentially a kind of a critique or a take on an alternative future for what is slated right now to be a highly canalized river. Take it away, ex-pause.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Laho. These are my partners, Caroline and Godinho, and Alexandros Hadjistyllis. Today we are presenting our project titled Exposing, Nurturing Moments of Pause in a City of Constant Rush, through the lens of our site, the Old City along the Laho River. So Pune is a city that is constantly forced into rush. The future developments proposed by the PMC come to stress even more of these forced movements. The Mulamutha is one of the few ecological corridors in Pune and is about to lose its environmental value due to the creation of engineered disruptions like barrages and pools. However, losing the soft edges, building the metro, forcing parallel circulation, widening and channelizing the river, stress the rush of people, transportation, and water even more. Instead, our project aims to highlight the value of these in-between moments that branch out of the creation of these eddy-like conditions in the Laho River. These moments intersect with social spaces along the old city through the creation of upstream filtration networks. As an alternative to this forced seasonality, we ask, what if we use cultural pauses within the urban fabric to restore and value ecology through water networks? We see Pune as a series of pauses in a field of flows. But what is a pause? A pause is a moment in between the rush. A pause is an opportunity to breathe, to generate, to mold, to simply break from forced movement, to highlight particular moments within the city first. Through studying this particular area, we kept rediscovering water as the connecting spine, highlighting moments of pause through wrapping and eddy that cultivate a space as a spot of growth. These moments are unique to their context and address different forms of community participation by holding water in these pauses. In the old city, in 3 very distinct strips, we explore the positive and cumulative effects that happen down contour to the Laho River using water as our language. Translating this concept into the dense fabric, we start to see how these moments and strips transform the city by holding water in pauses and spurring future green growth. Each strip uniquely embracing the natural Laho River seasonality, using the benefits of water to expand and thicken in the old city, and vice versa.
So we start with the Hadjistyllis and the reactivation of an old buried aqueduct system that is now being reinstated through the frame of pause and the power of water in the site. Using the Heritage Walk, a sacred visitor procession that intersects with temples and markets, we create social spaces that can become these moments in between. The old aqueduct is exposed and revealed by step wells and travels underground 7 kilometers from the Catraj Lake to the Laho River, and is also exposed above ground in specific moments like the Hadjistyllis and the confluence between these 2 waterways. These exchanges that happen by step wells, temples, and markets are further highlighted between flows of people and opportunities to pause for water as a programmatic participation and greenery growth. We imagine a new stakeholder network where the local community has the right and accessibility to water and also benefits from this new green and commercial corridor. We propose to reconnect people to a closer and cleaner source of water that accompanies their daily usage and generates pause for community engagement. As this path travels down to the Hadjistyllis, it meets a historic intersection where the old aqueduct now is revitalizing the space and aerating goes around the gardens of Shaniwawada. In the final phase, we propose to reconnect the lost connection between the locals and the historic Maidan in front of the Shaniwawada and the waterfront. And we do it by reviving communal aspect, not just along the aqueduct stepwells, but also along the riverfront through seasonal programs that happen on stagnant plateaus. During monsoon season, the excess of water is further treated by the ultrafiltration and accommodated by these plateaus, transforming the environment around and the activities. So here, the water is not just cleaned before reaching the river, but also becomes an integral part of the old city's pride through this new ultrafiltration system and through a new sediment building strategy, transforming the landscape of the river edge, connecting people, ecology, and culture. So, based on this methodology of holding water, filtration, and social spaces activation, we propose to adopt the language of pause along other water corridors within the old city.
Intersecting the Mutha River, the Nagzari Nala is the spine which gathers the effects of water from the source upstream. Starting from the Pavani path and moving along the Nala to the Kasba path, communities have been mistreating this water corridor. In Kasba, we treat the Nala as the new riverfront. We filter this waterway before reaching the Mutha River by using phytoremediation strategies. And we do that by creating holdings for rain collection and filtration tanks. We see this cycle of water and opportunities that come with it, not only as a yearly calendar, but also as a daily flex. We cut these corridors to find spaces to pause for phytoremediation, daily market activities, and integrated them with a monitoring and testing process. The access point at the Nagzari Nala become an integral part of these community corridors. This currently concretized barrier can now become a blue-green landscape where all these aforementioned corridors can extend, provide the opportunity for social interaction and mobile programs. The Nagzari Nala is a microcosm of the former glory of the Mutha River and a new paradigm for future edge conditions. Lastly, Sambahi Park is one of the very few green spaces in Pune. We see an opportunity to extend the pause across the Mutha River instead of intruding it with a metro that acts as a barrier or with further channelization. In this corridor, we use the high concentration of schools and temples to combine waste collection, recycling, and religious procession. We propose the installation of a new drainage and offering network that adds value to the concept of waste. This network honors the waterways and organic offerings being strained before clogging the water system. We use these strainers to create a field of pauses using composting tanks to spawn ecology while revaluing daily cultural practices. And the strategic placement of these tanks helps spread awareness and promote a new model of learning about recycling and waste as they relate to festival schedules. These pockets also generate the reuse of organic waste as composting gardens and programmatic activities. Along this pause, the procession reaches one of the most important temples along this area, Omkaleshwara Temple, and then the Mutha River. At the outflow of the drain, the edge connects the Sambahi Park metro station to this street by using the accessibility created by the natural landscape at the riverfront. In this way, Sambahi Park thickens, transforming the river into a new series of riverfront pauses. We believe that a city should not be about rush. Instead, Pune can set a unique paradigm for wrapping the concept of pause. Thank you.
So, comments from, or questions from the audience? Oh, Linda's going to help me.
Thanks,
Yeah. And if you're new, please announce yourself. Not yet? Okay, thanks for.
I have a quick question for this group, or maybe for this whole half of the studio. Do you see your work driven more by design principles than by problems or conditions that you're solving? I felt the first half of the studio was really framed in each case around a specific issue that each team addressed. Well, the introductory video in this case focused a lot on design principles, but then this project did too, by highlighting the pause. So can you reflect on why you chose to highlight design principles, or if there are some embedded issues or problems that you're addressing?
So first we started, at the river redevelopment proposal that the PMC had put. And then when we were at the site, we were encountered by people's reactions to needs that they had, like transportation was always one of the top things in surveys when they asked people what they need in the city of Pune. And we saw a lack of integration with these systems, so we felt like the good proposal would be to start at the river and expand into what was unique about our site, which is the old city. And through doing so, we found these other unique corridors and waterways that could affect downstream, and we saw like the behavior with water was something that could be shifted to something that was positive. And so after, also positively affecting the Mutter River too.
Your section to explain further what is happening. That's one thing I'm supposed to talk about.
Can you go to your section that shows the new canalization? Because I do feel like maybe our intro video could have gone into that a little bit in more depth. Sorry, not your project, but the comparison of the black screen with two sections on it. I think that was earlier. One of the things that I think this one, right? When you talk about this drawing,
Right, so.
So the PMC, what they are proposing in this city that is already rushing is more rush. They're proposing to channelize the river, which and they also propose parallel corridors. That means there's no intersections and therefore no interruptions between the different movement. So what we are proposing is as a more ecological corridor, and we take into consideration biodiversity and ecology, because humans are not the only users of a space, and Pune used to be an ecological hub. So we're trying to restore that by intervening into the river.
I would also add, based on the design principle question, that we saw that they were trying to replicate an idea that is seen in other places in India and other designs of this pooling for the concept of more aesthetically and engineering as like the forcing of the seasonality. So our project really wanted to concentrate on seasonality as it pertains to the natural flows of waters and how this water corridor could be rethought instead of this forced actions engineered, and the type of social spaces it would create in the community that are not foreseen right now. So that we think this would have a much better positive social effect, especially since we're going into the community, than what they're proposing. So we thought we had to start with that.
I mean, perhaps if I can just sort of clarify, because maybe something did not gather, I would say, in your presentation. I think the notion of pause for you describes what Pune is and what India is, and that in the pause, culture happens, if you will, if I can say, but also nature happens. and I think that observation, I feel, is very astute, and I think that the advantages that you get in that moment, you are extending in multiple dimensions, and that is a very powerful concept. And in that extension, you're addressing multiple problems. And I would think that one of the in comparison, I would think to the mornings to Cantor and the kind of situation over there, is sort of overwhelmed with with the problem of climate change and sea level rise. Here, I think the problem is much more dispersed, I would say, much more complex, and so cannot be really addressed in any with any one kind of solution or even kind of simple solution. So you will find actually that in many of these projects they synthesize, I think, in an idea that then they deploy in multiple ways. And I think that this project actually demonstrates that very effectively, that what you see happening in the river, what they're doing to the metro, what they're doing to the water systems, is actually, by pausing it, you are benefiting with all those, with all the advantages that you can situate within culture, within nature. But I think it goes beyond that in some way. And what is happening in India, I would think, not just in Pune, is that this rushing that they're talking about for the sake of efficiency is really being driven by a global model that is destroying, not just the river, but is destroying a kind of, I would say, a life possibility here, without suggesting that it is heritage or anything like that. But what is really part of the tradition of, I would say, society over here, the thriving of that moment in which people engage, or nature engages, and things like that.
Hi, I'm Fatma, a former student of the program, but I think I must applaud you for the way you have looked at the project, because at the early jury, the midterm review, I remember where you were and where you carried it now, and especially that cultural aspect that Dilip is talking about. I think you really went deep into it, and especially in one of your sections, which is, I believe, the Narok beat, if you can go for, where you're trying to connect the whole thing as another one. Yeah, even this and yeah, this one. I think the scale at which you took it and then try to connect it with the cultural realm of India and what you saw, that pause for community exchange versus the water exposure versus right by the water, and then taking the rituals of India, which is where you're also pausing as students and also understanding and giving a solution where you can do all the rituals, but then the aquifer is there, is going to collect, and then it goes into the river. I think if you present it, there are multiple places in India that it can be advantageous to. But I do applaud you for being outside, just as students, to get so deep, because there's so much happening in that city or any Indian city that where you did go deeply. I applaud you, because it's not easy. And I think your proposal is something that PMC might, like the pieces that they can carry out. I think it's not on a holistic vision, but at least the smaller pieces would be an easy sell. So good work.
Thank you.
It's gonna make a little trouble here. What would you say, I'm gonna ask him actually. What would you say if I called this nostalgic? This project, nostalgic?
I'm too young for that question.
Okay, that's good, thank you. The reason I ask is because I agree with everything that's been said, but I want to put push on all of us to question for whom is pause good, right? Who has the luxury of pause? You know, I think it's a little abstract, it's a little bit fuzzy, that concept. As much as I respect it and I understand it,
Yeah.
I also am reflecting back on my own predispositions, like why do I want a pause? Well, I can afford a pause, perhaps. Or, so I just, you know, what are the politics of that, if any?
Yeah, so before Dylan answers this way better than I would, I'm just gonna add that this is more of an argument to what we saw in the PMC's proposal, which they are rushing. So I think this concept is kind of a counter argument that we think is much more valuable, and I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I have to respond to David just quickly. But you know, every critique I think of the development agenda is in danger of being called nostalgic in some way, and I think that's the burden we carry, and we've carried actually for a long time. But one thing we have learned over the last few decades, and I think Keith keeps saying that, we've noticed that the so-called developed world that is leading the way over here has gone, you know, hop, step, and jump, and then retreated from that position. So they've moved in with economic haste, you know, and in the name of efficiency. And what they're doing here, for example, with speeding up the flow of the river, you know, I mean, and then they're jumping back now into rain systems, holding systems, you know, and so while these folks over here are chasing, we're asking them why they're not leapfrogging, you know, into a wiser situation that we're learning the hard way in every other country, you know, I mean, in the developed world. So I would say, you know, yes, you know, there is always the possibility of looking at it with you know, as nostalgic, but when is something nostalgic, and when is it a cultural condition that is to be sort of celebrated in today's time? And I agree with you in many ways that in the conservation agenda, particularly in India, there is, you know, I mean, going back to Vedic times, you know, a situation that is driven by constructive nostalgia, so and a division of nostalgia. So I think that there is something to be said, though, the critique of nostalgia, and you have to walk a fine line. But I feel there are many benefits to the pose that you guys have found.
And just to build on top of it,
Microphone.
Oh, sorry. So just to build on top of that, I may risk saying that it's a little bit nostalgic, yes, because the PMC proposals are not really taking into consideration the existing heritage community, the first community that came here decades ago. So we are bringing the culture back and trying to link both, but always with the old city, the residents in first place, rather than new visitors and new population that is coming with this new development.
And we want Pune to look like Pune. If you see the renderings of the PMC, these images could be placed anywhere in the world. There's nothing specific that gives the information to the readers that this is in India, this is a city in India. So we took into consideration what makes the rivers special other than the ecological aspect and try to integrate that within the city.
Thank you for a great presentation. I personally learned a lot from this. And what I really appreciate in your project is how you add the dimension of time into the design, and you introduce a new tool to design, which I think is super relevant for public space, which also benefit from action and interaction between people, and I think that makes the space. Another thing that I had a question about previous project is what explain the the gap between the future plans and your proposal. You know, there is huge gap, and I think in this project you don't talk about master plan, which I don't think is relevant. It's more about like strategic plan, and you try to work with the existing, you know, with the proposed government plan. And I have a question: if this area, like these specific places that you look at, pause, are they just you know, tasked for solve the overall master plan, or is like specific plan that based on, you know, site analysis, and you think that these spaces should be there, or it's just like test, you know, the existing condition and then you can solve the other, you know, master plan?
Yeah, that's more or less what we, as a group, felt like the PMC was trying to do by establishing those 3 different type of embankment typologies for the riverfront, and what they were proposing with the metro was very typological and not specific to the site. And one of the advantages of being in a group with other people that are doing other projects is that we got to focus in one specific area. And even in this specific dense area, we found 3 completely different opportunities through little research and, you know, extensive work, but to find unique opportunities to involve water within the community. So we think that like this type of approach would require more work than